Greetings and welcome to Medieval Engineers. This game was just released as an early access about 2 days ago, and I've been having quite a lot of fun making all sorts of stuff. So currently the game only has a creative mode, and there's about 2 things I guess you can do. There is building aesthetically pleasing buildings, or just, well, any building, whatever you please, or you can build some sort of machines like these, with which you can destroy said buildings. So I've been mostly doing the latter, simply because, well, I enjoy making these things. It requires quite a bit of ingenuity. Rather than building buildings, you'd need some creativity, which I don't really have, I suppose. But still. And I'll be taking a look at most of these things that I have made. As you can see, they are all catapults of some sort. All torsion catapults. These are pretty much the simplest things you can make at the moment, when it comes to catapults anyway. And I'll be taking a look at it. So there were some issues early on, well, early on, I mean like 2 days ago, that when you build some sort of catapult, that the spoon or scoop, or however you may call it, snaps off whenever you want to shoot something. So that still happens under certain circumstances at the moment, but it's been improved already, and that may still happen as we fire a few of these things. So most of these should work properly. I say most because, as I said before, the physics and well, yeah, the physics is somewhat unreliable at the moment because it's early on in the development. Anyway, let's go ahead and fire off this thing. So this is pretty much the simplest catapult I could make. So you got these things with which you can winch a rope. You first need to connect these things, as you most likely already have done quite a few times yourself, and then you just make sure it's winched all the way back. And something very important is that you make sure that you build some sort of brace here, so that the catapult cannot go all the way down, so that it stops. This does 2 things. It allows you to give some sort of angle to the catapult, because that will determine the curve the projectile makes, and it also makes sure that the catapult, well, is not under too much forces, because otherwise things will start breaking. So let's try if we can make this thing shoot. You got 2 projectile sizes. You got the small one and you got the big one. Now, the small one is kind of weird because it doesn't really fit nicely into the scoop, and that makes that there is a lot of, I don't know what you say, a few impacts when you try to shoot it. And well, anyway, I'm not going to try to explain it, I'm just going to show it. So let's start off with the big one. It's a little bit tricky to get it in right. That actually worked, okay. And now let's fire it off, and hopefully nothing breaks. Gonna have to wait and see. Okay, well, yeah, okay. There we go. As I said, things may break. So that still happens. Still, I got a few reserves. We got this one. This is pretty much the same one as this one. The only difference is that the angle is a little less sharp if you look at this angle. So let's try ahead and try this one. You know, most of these things worked when I tried it. Okay, and now we can see that it doesn't really seem to winch back properly. So all you do is just try and reconnect it. Try it again, and okay, nothing again. It's a little bit unreliable at the moment. There you go, now it works. So let's try and put in a big one again. Alright, that worked. Now hopefully this one doesn't break. There we go. That one worked. And it flies all the way over there. And I'm gonna put a marker to see, well, so that we can later on look where it landed. Let's just make sure. Okay, there we go. Now that one worked. That one worked, so let's try it with a small projectile this time. Now, I'm somehow guessing that it may destroy itself. I mean the catapult. And it does this thing again. You just gotta continue trying. Now it works. Alright. Now let's try a small one and see if we can get this catapult to destroy itself. So as you can see, it moves around in the scoop, so that means that when it fires, that it will bump into certain things, which may make it exert some forces on the scoop or on the whole catapult, which may make it break. But let's see what it does. Okay, as you can see, now it broke. So, and the spring is doing crazy stuff. Anyway, as you can see, just changing the projectile can already have some serious consequences for your catapult. As I found that, well, yeah, the big projectile seems a little bit more reliable than the small one. However, if you want to fire small ones, I would perhaps say that you would need to build your own scoop, not scope, like this one. This was actually a prototype very early on that I was building. It first was something very different. It was actually some sort of inverted catapult, but suffice to say that didn't work out. But then I started making this scoop and it actually works pretty fine. Now let's hope that it actually still does. Okay. Now the nice thing about this thing is that you can place 2 of these small projectiles in it. But let's start off with 1. Hopefully it doesn't destroy itself. Alright, so there it goes. And let's fire it. And it's landing quite a bit further than the big projectile, which makes sense because it's a lot lighter. And let's put up a marker here as well. Alright, now let's try firing 2 small projectiles. Now something you need to watch out for is that you have to make sure that both projectiles rest on top of these planks on the back, because if one isn't properly fitted into the scoop, it will, well, yeah, do the same thing as with the regular scoops. It will move around and it will do some crazy stuff and it will pretty much break your scoop. Alright, these 2 are good. They are nicely fitted into it. Now it should work. And it does. There we go. 2 of them, and they land a little less further, simply because they weigh a lot more than just 1 projectile. So let's put up a marker right here. Now I'm gonna see if I can actually make it break to show you what the positioning of a projectile can actually do. Alright, so gotta make sure that this one lies somewhere in the middle so that I don't have enough room to put the other one. That's not gonna work. Let's get rid of it and try that again. Let's see if this works. Nope. No, again. It's going too good. No. Okay, well, as you can see, it's actually very difficult to fail with this one. Well, I say that now, but I'm pretty sure that I would be able to fail whenever I don't need to. Okay, so that one actually... No, it's actually good. Oh, well, let's just fire it. Okay, well, it's working. Anyway, I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, and one thing I did investigate was, does the size of the scoop matter? Well, let's go test it out, I suppose. We got a normal one here. It's about the same size as these two that I apparently destroyed. So let's go ahead and winch it back. It's not working properly. Let's try that again. And I did make sure that all of them are at about the same angle. Okay, there we go. Let's put in a large projectile. Hopefully it works. Sometimes it will just bounce out. Nope, that's good. Alright, and let's go ahead and fire it. And it did not destroy itself, which is just great. So it lands around here, which is about the same distance as this one. Let's put up another marker. That sounds about right. Okay, now let's try the one with that actually has the double size. Yeah, and this thing is in the reverse. That sometimes happens. There is some logic to it, but well, sometimes it doesn't really matter all that much. All right, let's put in another projectile. Okay. And it didn't break, which is good. And it's landing right there. So that's pretty much the same distance as the last one. But as you can see, the projectile did break simply because it did fall from a little bit higher distance. Let's put down a marker as well. There we go. And now we can try the other one, which is about 3 times the size as a regular one. But as you may have guessed from the last test, it should also be pretty much the same distance. And it's doing some crazy stuff now. Okay, now it's settled down. All right. That didn't work. That one did. Okay. Let's release it. And it lands pretty much at the same distance. So as you can see, the size of the scoop, or at least the arm of the scoop, does not matter at all. So that means that you pretty much have to build them as small as possible. And I tried that with this one. One issue, however, that you will run into is that when you make this smaller, it's basically a lever to winch back this torsion spring. And the smaller this gets, the more difficult it is to winch it back. Simply because you need to output a lot more force when it's closer to the spring. So with this one I had the issue that it's a bit too small. It's pretty much the smallest workable size that I have found, and I actually haven't completely rebuilt this one yet. So let's go ahead and try and winch it back. Yeah, and that is about the maximum that I manage. However, one thing you can do is try and use 2 winches, as I will also be using there. That's for the that'll be showing next. As you can see, I've been trying with 2 torsion springs. Anyway, back to this one. So let's try and put on 2. So it actually winches back a lot further now, and that is actually not because I connected these. It's simply because there is another added weight. So if I were to disconnect this one, nothing would happen, but I added a little weight by using this thing. But one nice thing about this is that now I should be able to more properly put a projectile in it, because if it's too high up, it'll just fall out. So let's go ahead and put one in. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. It may just fall out. We're gonna have to see. Yeah, it's... Nope. Almost. Nope, it's not working. Let's get rid of all of these first, because that's otherwise gonna become a big mess. Gotta make sure that I select the balls, well, I mean the projectiles, and not a piece of the catapult. Alright, there we go. So let's try a small one then. Hopefully it doesn't explode on itself. Alright, there we go. Now let's fire it. That actually worked, and it's flying very far. It's actually very far, wow. So it's almost twice the distance. So that's a lot further than the first one. I must say that's the first time that it fired this far. Well, that's good. So let's put the marker down here. There we go. And now let's go over to the ones where I've been experimenting with 2 torsion springs. Now, actually there's only one that works. This one was a bit weird, a bit difficult, because a problem is that these springs themselves are dynamic objects, and you cannot connect to dynamic objects directly. So as you can see, I could place another block there, but they will not connect, as you can see. So it will not work this way. However, I tried with using 2 torsion springs behind each other, like this. And, well, yeah, that brought up a whole other horde of problems. But one thing that I managed to do is I pretty much used the back spring as some sort of passive spring. And I needed to make sure that it braces the first scoop, because if you don't, it'll just snap to the left or to the right, and then you get all sorts of crazy things. Now let's try and shoot this thing. One challenge I had with this is that... Wait, let's connect it all first. So yeah, now I have these 2 connected, and one problem is that you need to find some sort of way to make sure that everything stays in position, and that you only pretty much have to press one switch to fire it. So the issue with, for example, this is... we still have it locked. Yes, I do. Have to unlock these things. So here you can see me winching it back, but I need to use 2 of them, alternating, as you can see. But if I go too far, you will start to see it snap. As you can see, it's gonna do some weird stuff now. If it... Okay, no idea where that thing came from. Must have dropped it somewhere. Let's try and get rid of it. There we go. Now any time now it's gonna snap. Maybe. Okay, it doesn't seem to want to this time, which is kind of weird. Anyway, and you have to lock these things. But the problem arises that if you get rid of one, it'll do that, which is not good. So let's do this again, and as you can see, I actually made 3 positions for ropes here, and I have one here. So I'll be using that to kind of attach the scoop to the ground when it's fully pulled back. And it actually works. Hopefully it works this time as well. Oh, and I always forget to unlock these things. And it's doing crazy things now. And it's not going back as far as the last time. But that should be okay. It's still winching slowly. I think it's at the max now. Oh, and now it's starting to do the crazy thing. And the crazy thing is that if you winch back this one way too far, this one in the back will just snap through and fly off. Well, not fly off, go up, and well, then you have some weird catapult where the where pretty much the front scoop is behind the one in the back, and well, yeah, that's just insane. But now let's attach these things. If I can manage to find the third one, it's a little bit tricky. Let's see, that's one. That's two, that's three. That should be it. Alright, there we go. Now it's attached to the floor and we can actually get rid of these things. Gotta make sure that I have the right one. Okay, there we go. It did still shoot up a little bit, but... Okay, what's happened here? Oh, nothing. Alright, now let's try and load up a projectile and see how far it flies. I hope a big one will manage. Oh yeah, that worked. Alright, and let's disconnect this thing and see it fly off. And as you can see, it does fly considerably further than the other ones, even with a big projectile. So using two of those winches, no wait, not winches, rope tension springs will make your projectile fly further. So, and that all makes sense basically, because the whole force comes from the tension spring. So whether or not you use a large or small scoop, it does not change the amount of force that the tension spring can output. So yeah, I've been experimenting with all of this quite a while, and I will be making some more advanced catapults later on, but that's pretty much what I have at the moment. So yeah, if you got any ideas, make sure to give some comments in the comments below, I suppose. Or if you have some sort of constructions yourself, make some screenshots or videos about it and show it around, because I'm having a blast doing all this sort of stuff. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed it and found this stuff to be somewhat helpful. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.